Hello, I'm Linnea Frank. I'm from the Sliss Public Library, and I'm here to talk to you about some books you can read for this year. I've heard that a lot of you are not as excited about reading as I am, so I brought some of my favorites that I thought might change your mind. So I'm going to just jump right in. First book is The Princess Bride, S. Morgenstern's classic tale of high adventure and true love. The Good Parts version, abridged by Goldman. When I was a kid, this book was my favorite book, but I'd never actually read it. Well, how does that happen? Well, you know, when I was younger, I didn't really care for reading. Who really had time for it? It was long and boring, and I was really into sports. Baseball, football, basketball. That's what I spent my time doing. And then I got sick. Like, really sick. Spend your time in bed for a month recovering. That's how sick I was. And to cheer me up and give me something to do while I was, in bed, my dad came in and he read this book to me. And it completely changed my view of reading. I was hooked. So, naturally, when I had a kid and my son grew up, was 10 years old, same age as I was, I gave him the book so I could share this wonderful, wonderful book with him. But something went wrong. He didn't actually like it. He was bored. He kind of hated it. And I was devastated. I mean, I know everyone has their own opinions and likes different things when it comes to reading, but really, who doesn't like The Princess Bride? So, after I walked around outside in the winter for 2 hours without a coat, I decided that I would read it again and see if it really was as good as I remembered, or if maybe I was confusing it with another book, even though I didn't believe that was true. So I sat down and I started reading it, and you know what I discovered? My father hadn't been exactly honest when he'd read the book to me. Oh, he read all the words that were in Morgenstern's tale. But when Morgenstern got a little long-winded and, well, frankly, boring, like when he talked for 67 pages about packing clothes. No, really, 67 pages. My dad just skipped on ahead back to the good parts. So I only got the Good Parts version. Well, after making that discovery, there was only one thing I could do, which was abridge this book and publish it. The Good Parts version. This book will not bore you. There is nothing in this book but fencing, fighting, torture, true love, hate, revenge, giants, snakes, spiders, and all beasts of all natures and descriptions, beautifulest of ladies, good men, bad men, cowards, chases, escapes, passion, and miracles. So read the Good Parts version of The Princess Bride by Goldman. This next book I have for you is The Wave by Todd Strasser. When Ben Ross, a history teacher, showed a video to his class about the atrocities the Nazis committed, there were a lot of questions afterward. Questions like, didn't anyone notice? Why didn't anyone do something? And how on earth could that have happened with everyone denying that they knew about it after the war? Well, Ben didn't have any answers, but he really wanted to find them. He couldn't, though. In all the books he read, nothing really gave him the answer. So he decided he'd try a little experiment. Just a couple of lessons, a couple of days to kind of see maybe what it would have been like. And so The Wave was born. The next day, Ben's class came in, and on the board was written the words, "Strength through discipline." And the class discovered something. When they worked as a unit, they had a lot of power. A different kind of power than they ever had before. and a lot of power. More than even Ben Ross had foreseen. Much more than was safe. It didn't stay to a couple of lessons. In fact, the wave began to spread. And so did the power. It began to grow. This book is based on real events. It happened in a Palo Alto classroom in California in 1969. For 3 years after this experiment, no one would talk about it. In the words of Ben Ross, it was the most terrifying experience I've ever had in the classroom. You might think, this could never happen in my school. The wave would never do that here. But can you really be sure? Would you really want to risk it? The Wave by Todd Strasser. Ironman by Crutcher. Hello, I'm Bo Brewster, and I'm Iron Man. Or I'm going to be. Not the guy in the suit from the movies, don't be ridiculous. No, Iron Man is just another word for a triathlete, which is someone who's a running, bicycling, swimming machine who's willing to go very far distances at very high speeds while enduring very great physical pain. I'm training for Yukon Jacks. That's the triathlon I want to finish. And it's considered pretty brutal, even for a triathlon. Or at least, that's what I do when I'm training, which is the best part of my life, and is what I do pretty much outside of school. Except for right now. See, I got suspended. I called my English teacher and former coach, Redmond, I called him an asshole. Which he is, but he's got all the power, so now I have to join the anger management group that Mr. Nakatani runs. Well, I'm hoping the only thing I lose to this is my training time. The knack pack, you see, that's what we call them. They're the kids you don't really want to make eye contact with, just in case. I mean, I'm talking a seriously high potential for serial killers and future highway snipers. This is a real gang of thieves, so it could end pretty ugly. But at least if I'm with the knack pack, I don't have to be at my dad's place. We've been at war since I could remember. There's not really enough space for both of us in the house, and... Well, let me put it this way. He and Redmond are basically allies against me. Neither one of them thinks I can, or should, become Iron Man. And they might not be content to just watch me fail. They might try and stop me. But I won't let anything stop me. I won't let anything keep me from becoming Iron Man. By Crutcher. So now this one might be a little hard for you to see, but this is Magic Steps by Tamora Pierce, which is part of the Circle Opens Quartet. Sandry knew that not all kinds of magic were common. Well, I mean, her magic wasn't all that common. She was a thread mage. Her power was over fabric and thread, stitches. But what she didn't know was if she, a stitch witch, and an untrained dancing mage would be able to stop the most insidious and evil magic of all, unmagic, which is really the creation of nothingness. It's total emptiness. It's really the antithesis of everything. It's the opposite of everything that the magic Sandry knows. How did she encounter it? Well, she knows that the patterns of life, you need to pay attention to them. You gotta notice them. And then you gotta follow them, or else there are consequences. So when she saw Pasco dancing fish into a net on the beach, she knew at once. He was a mage. And he didn't seem like he knew what he was doing. In fact, he was untrained, and not all that interested in being trained. But clearly he needed to be trained. And Sandry had to be his teacher. She wasn't really thrilled with the idea of being his teacher either. She was only 14, and it was all she could do to keep her uncle from overdoing after his most recent health troubles. But she was the one who discovered him, and even though she's young, she was a fully trained mage. So she started to teach him. She's barely begun when she first encounters the unmagic. It's being used in a series of brutal murders against a merchant family. Someone is coming into their homes and killing every person in the house, down to the smallest child, who's not even able to walk yet. The killers are cloaked in unmagic, which allows them to go unseen and unheard, totally undetected, and to pass through any magic in their way. This unmagic, as I said, was nothingness, emptiness. It's evil. Can Sandry manage to help other mages stop this? For her, whatever her uncertainty as a teacher, she is a fully trained mage and very powerful. And what's more, she can actually see the unmagic. Maybe, with the help of her half-trained student, they'll be able to stop the murders before the whole family and the whole city is destroyed. Magic Steps by Tamora Pierce. And finally, we have Son of the Mob by Gordon Korman. Everyone's got problems with their family, but mine are a little unusual. Take my father, for instance. They call him Honest Abe Luca instead of Anthony, because he's so straight in his business dealings, no matter how illegal they may happen to be. Never rips anybody off, never breaks a promise, except one. Honest Abe just can't seem to make good on his word to keep his line of work completely separate from my life. And now I'm stranded on Bryce Beach with a red-hot and revved-up Angela O'Banion in my arms and an out-cold Jimmy Rat in the trunk of my Mazda. Now, this doesn't exactly put me in the mood for love, but I've got to stall for time. Can't let Angela see. And the only thing I can think to do is to clamp myself onto Angela like there's no tomorrow. I guess she mistakes my desperation for grand passion, because she starts kissing me. I mean, she's really going nuts at it. So here I am, getting the best action of my life, but I can't enjoy it, because 6 feet away, the trunk is open, and Jimmy Rat is snoring softly and bleeding all over my blanket. See, my dad's business dealings, as I said, aren't exactly legal. It's actually one of those family business kind of things. I've made it clear that I don't want anything to do with it, and my dad respects that. But he doesn't actually seem to follow through on this claim to respect by keeping his business dealings out of my life. And they're about to get a lot more intrusive. See, I've met a girl. And I think she might actually be worth all the hassle, all the evasions and the intrusions. There's just one small problem. Her dad's an FBI agent. And he's not just any FBI agent. He's the agent in charge of closing our family business for good. Can Vince make it all work? Find out in Son of the Mob by Gordon Korman. Okay, that concludes the books I was going to talk to you about today. If you have any questions, I can answer some of them now, and the books will be available to you in the library to check out. Thank you very much.